What's up, guys, and welcome to today's event. I'm super excited to have you joining me here. Today we're going to learn what it takes to build an 8-figure real estate empire in 5 years or less. All right, guys, I want to make it clear first and foremost, I'm going to try to keep everything today short, to the point, and make sure that you leave here today with value. I'm not here to try and sell you on a product. I'm here to show you what's included in the product should you choose to join Cashflow Bootcamp and change your life for the best. But with that being said, most importantly today, I want to make sure that you leave with value. So let's get started. So who am I? My name is Roy Seipel, and I'm originally from Queens, New York. I moved down to Florida back in 2016 with $0, zero experience, crappy credit, and by 2021, I had already amassed a $15 million real estate portfolio. And by 2023, I put together and released Cashflow Bootcamp. So let's dive in and see what's included. All right, so here's just a quick peek at Module 1, intro and backstory, everything you'd like to know about me. Where do you begin? Mindset, your first deal, setting up your LLC and asset protection, staying organized, relationships, cutting people out, networking, and mentorship. Module 2, this is where we discuss which exit strategy makes most sense, how to analyze and comp deals, what is wholesaling and how to properly wholesale deals. Flipping, how to flip a property, what it takes to flip. What is flipping, right? We buy a property, we renovate it, we resell it at market value for a profit. Flipping, but obviously there's a lot more to it. We talk about all that here in Cashflow Bootcamp. Most importantly, we discuss the BRRRR method, okay? BRRRR stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. This is a system on how to gain infinite real estate, okay? Let me give you guys a quick example. All right, guys, so what does this mean? Let's say you bought a house for $100,000. I'm going to keep this really simple, guys, okay? You bought for $100,000, okay? Your renovation was $50,000, okay? But you don't have $150,000. You had to borrow the money. Let's assume you borrowed it from your family. Let's assume you borrowed it from your friend, from a private money lender, from a hard money lender. We're going to talk about financing in just a moment. But let's assume you had to borrow this money because you don't have it. And obviously, borrowing money costs money, okay? So let's assume you borrowed this $150,000, and in exchange, you promised to return back $165,000, therefore giving you $15,000 in interest, okay? All right, so now you're all in for $165,000 into this property. It's beautiful, it's fully renovated, okay? I'm only using these numbers as an example for argument's sake. You could do this with any numbers. You just have to kind of follow the formula and make it make sense for your deal. But let's just say rent, it's rented $2,000 a month. Now, I know there's a lot of you guys out there saying, oh, that's impossible. There's no houses out there for $100,000. That doesn't even really exist. The truth is, half of my portfolio I bought for less than $100,000. So these deals do exist. You just have to know how to go about them and how to find them. They're in every state. They're in every city. I promise you guys there's good, sick deals everywhere you look. You just have to know how to look, how to find them, how to analyze them, and how to utilize these strategies. But this is one of the simplest things in the world. It's one of the simplest strategies in the world, okay? I promise you guys, you can go learn how to be a doctor or a lawyer and make less money, and it's going to be 1,000 times harder and more complicated than this. This formula is the easiest thing in the world, okay? Just follow me here. You bought it for $100, your renovation cost you $50, your holding cost is $15,000, you're all in for $165,000. You have the house now rented for $2,000 a month, all right? Now, new value, $225,000. This is what this house is worth now that you've renovated it and increased its value, okay? So now, the new bank, you're going to go to a new lender, and you're going to ask to refinance this property. Okay, we're just going to put down refi. The new bank is going to offer you 75% of this new value, okay, as a loan, as a 30-year loan. So you're going to get a 30-year mortgage just like you would on any other house. You can keep this house in an LLC, and you should, obviously, okay? But they're going to give you 75%. So 75% of $225,000 is $168,000. So your new loan amount from the bank equals $168,000, okay? So what does this mean? Essentially, you went to a new bank now. The new bank gave you a 30-year stabilized loan, let's just say with a 6 or 7% interest rate, right? They gave you 75% of this new appraised value. So they basically gave you $168,000. That's more or less what you owe, you know, your private money lender or your hard money lender or whomever, you know, helped you. Or even if you didn't have any lender, right? It was your money that you put out. Here's the thing, you just got all your money back, okay? So here's the catch now. You have all of your money back in your pocket or your lender's pocket, but you're left with a house, okay? But now you have to pay this mortgage back, and this mortgage is costing you, let's just say $1,500 a month, okay? For your PITI, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So your mortgage costs you $1,500, but you rented, okay? So we're gonna go back here now, and we're gonna put down MTG, okay? Essentially left with $500 a month net. Okay? Now you're netting every single month $500, but most importantly, you got all of your initial investment back. You got all of your money back in your pocket. You're left with a free house, and you're netting about $500. Now $500 doesn't sound like much. You know, it's $500. But the key is, and this is the most amazing part of all of this, is this right here, the repeat part. You could do this an infinite amount of times. This is literally how I went from zero to over $30,000 a month net that comes to my pocket every single month. If I quit working today, I'm going to average $30,000 that comes into my pocket every single month just using this process. This is just over the work that I've done over the past 4 or 5 years. And that's mind-blowing. The moment I did the first property and I figured this out, I was like, man, this isn't real. It is real. And here's the other best part of all of this, okay? The difference, right, the gap between 168 and 225 is called equity, okay? You still have all of this equity in this property. That money isn't going anywhere. If you choose to sell this property someday, you have all of that profit sitting in there. The only difference is that profit is going to be working for you over the next few years, right? Rather than you going and paying a hefty short-term capital gains taxes for, you know, for the profit that you have here, you defer it so that you can pay long-term capital gains one day when you sell, which is a lot less than what it would be if you sold it in the first year. But the key is that your profit is there. Your profit isn't going anywhere. It's just mind-blowing, guys, all right? And then the other best part is that this 225, which is what it's worth today, is going to appreciate with time. So while you're collecting your $500 every single month, in 10 years, now this house is worth $425 or $325 or whatever the case may be. Guys, all of that is equity. Your loan amount goes down because your tenant is paying off your mortgage, okay? Your value goes up because of appreciation with time in real estate. And in the meanwhile, you're collecting this every single month. Every single one of my properties nets me, in the low end, $400, on the high end, $1,200 net. So the average is $500, $600, $700 a month. It's very common, and that's how it is with all of my properties. So just food for thought, guys. But this is what the BRRRR method is, okay? All right, next let's talk about marketing, guys, and what it takes to find these amazing and insane deals, okay? As we discussed earlier, investing in yourself takes precedence above all else. But after that, how do you actually go about finding these great deals? I can assure you guys, I don't care what state you're in, I don't care what the situation is, finding great, amazing deals is the easiest part of this business if you know how to find them. There's a reason why successful investors are constantly buying deals and doing deals, right? And rookie and novice investors, they'll do one deal here, one deal there, maybe 2 deals a year, and they'll constantly complain there's no deals out there, there's no deals out there. But then you have other guys like myself who are constantly doing deals. The reason is we know what to look for, okay? So let's start by talking about direct mail real quick, okay? Direct mail is going to be your #1 resource for finding the absolute best deals, okay? Nothing else is going to ever compare to direct mail. The problem with direct mail, and by the way, when I say direct mail, I'm talking about letters, envelopes, flyers, things of that nature. The problem with direct mail is that it's ultra expensive, okay? It's really, really expensive. I recently spoke at an event and I had an audience member tell me, Roy, I recently sent out 1,500 letters and I got zero calls, zero leads, zero deals, okay? And what I explained to the guy is that I'm sending an average of 5,000 letters a week, okay? That's the name of the game here, 5,000 letters a week. Where he was talking about having sent 1,500 in a month, okay? So you have to really understand what it takes. If you're going after, zip codes, you're going after zip codes. You can do a one zip code campaign and send out, 15, 20, 30, 50,000 letters, and then you want to make sure that you break them down into a few thousand per a week and not 1,000 per a month, okay? Next, let's talk about MLS, okay? This is going to be your next best place to find the absolute best deals. There is a ton of deals on the MLS if you know what to look for. In Cashflow Bootcamp, we go over that in detail, okay? How do we find deals on the MLS? How do we set alerts, right? Last year, I actually taught my ex-girlfriend this exact neat little trick. She didn't know much about real estate, but she knows how to use a computer. I showed her how to analyze deals, how to make these cool little squares, and how to differentiate between a house and a good deal that comes up for sale, and how to set up alerts. And let me tell you guys something. Within 3 months, she brought home 7 deals that netted her over $50,000, and these are 7 beautiful properties that I still own today. And that was done over a 3-month period during acquisitions, and that was done during a time when there were no deals. If you guys remember, right there post-COVID, everybody is buying over asking, everybody's paying crazy, ridiculous prices. There were no deals on the MLS, and she, with her little experience, was still able to bring home 7 amazing deals that I still own today, okay? So you have to understand really what it means to use the MLS to find deals. This is also going to be your least expensive way to find the best deals, right? The MLS costs you, $500 for the entire year once you get your real estate license. And by the way, getting your real estate license, while it's not necessary in order to be a real estate investor, it is mandatory if you want to be a real estate investor, okay? So let's assume you're just getting started, you don't have much capital yet, you don't have tens of thousands of dollars to invest into marketing per month. No problem, you can use the MLS. It'll cost you $500, something like that, more or less, for the entire year, and you can just sit there, and if you know what you're doing, you're going to find good deals. Again, at another event that I spoke at, somebody told me, but Roy, we put out 10 offers last month on the MLS, and unfortunately, we didn't get any deal. Guys, when we're finding deals on the MLS, we're putting 10 to 15 offers out a day, not a month, not a week, a day. That's what it takes. That's the level of commitment that it takes. But if you're out there and your entire job is to sit there on the MLS and click and send out offers and click and find and send out offers, okay? And every day you're sending out 10, 15 offers, in a week, in 4 weeks, you're going to get deals. There's no doubt about that, especially if you know how to analyze them properly, especially if you know how to send out your offers properly, you're going to get deals. And it's enough that you can sit there and send out 10, 15, 20 offers a day, and in 30 days get one deal, and in that one deal make more than you would in your current job working the entire year. Okay, again, food for thought, guys, okay? We talk about all the other lead generation forms, from bandit signs to flyers to cold calling to everything else that you can possibly imagine. What's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't. And of course, most importantly, follow up. I mean, I can't tell you how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I made just by following up. You always want to make sure that in any business, right? I mean, you're in sales, you're selling a car, you can always follow up with the person, see if they're still interested. Guys, there's tons of money out there. You don't want to leave any of it on the table for someone else, okay? Next, we discuss contractors and renovations. Now, why do I put it like this, okay? Let me tell you why I put it like this. Because contractors are con men in disguise. Good deals are easy to find, good labor isn't, and that's the bottom line truth. If anybody tells you that the renovation part is the easy part, they simply haven't renovated enough houses, okay, guys? I've worked on hundreds of houses. I've worked with countless amounts of contractors and day laborers. The easiest part of this business, guys, Okay, I want to make this very clear. The easiest part of this business is what you're in control of. You're in control of finding your deals. You're in control of finding your money. You're in control of finding your tenants. You're in control of all of it, right? If you go out there and you put in the work every single day, you're going to bring in these amazing deals. What you're not in control of is the renovations. You're not going to be out there renovating these houses yourself. I don't care if you're a contractor, if you're a state licensed contractor, you're not going to be out there renovating these houses yourself, because the time that you're out there with a hammer and a nail renovating this property, you can be going out there and finding the next 5, 10 houses, the next 10 deals. It just doesn't make sense. So we're always reliant on other people to renovate our properties. And that's kind of the issue that, I still suffer till today. These guys are not easy to work with, but there are ways around it. And if you learn how to streamline the process, you can get in and out of these houses an average of 4 or 5 weeks, make them beautiful, and on to the next. And that really is what the name of the game is. It's on to the next, on to the next. You want to learn how to scale and grow this business and not just how to flip a house, right? So how do we deal with these contractors? How do we find these contractors? How do we estimate the renovations? You've never renovated a house in your life. How do you go into a house and estimate how much is it going to cost me to renovate it? Do I need to change this? Do I not? Is the contractor ripping me off? Is he telling me the truth? Your work agreement, guys, is one of the most important resources that you have to your advantage that's going to protect you guys and cover your butt. And our work agreement, which is probably one of the best you're going to find in the country, is included in Cashflow Bootcamp, so you guys can use it on your renovations. Okay, next we discuss how to manage your renovations, right? What happens when you start growing and scaling? Your goal should be how to scale, right? Not how to flip a house, but how to acquire many houses, how to acquire hundreds of houses, how to build passive income. If you don't learn how to build passive income, you're going to be working till the day you die. So learning how to manage your renovations, and I say renovations plural, because you're going to reach a point where you're working on 5, 10, maybe even more at a time. How do you manage all of these renovations, okay? There is a process to it. So our best way of finding contractors that I have found is honestly on Craigslist. Craigslist is crap. It's not really good for anything anymore, but it is great for finding contractors. Don't ask me why. Facebook Marketplace and Facebook groups is great. Referrals are obviously great. If you know somebody who recently had a renovation or another investor and they can refer a good GC for you guys, honestly, that's excellent. Outside Home Depot on a weekday. So a lot of Home Depots have a pro area, and if you actually stand outside and you look outside, you're going to see trucks, and they're going to have, the contractor information, phone number, what they do, etc. on those trucks. Sometimes I'll go there, I'll just take some pictures, and then I'll call them up. And I've actually found some decent guys to work on my properties utilizing this method. So this is something to consider. Avoid Home Advisor and Angie's List at all costs, okay? These are the guys who prey on mom and pops. They prey on old ladies who don't know any better. These are the guys who are going to charge you $50,000 to renovate a kitchen when I'm renovating an entire house for $50,000, okay? So avoid these guys at all costs. Contracts, negotiations, and acquisitions. The importance of a proper contract. What does this mean, a proper contract? Do you guys know how many deals I have gotten through loopholes? Because other people made mistakes on their contracts and I was able to come in there and swoop it out. Guys, it's the nature of the business. There's sharks out there who want these deals a lot more than you do. And if you don't know how to protect your contracts, it's not just about protecting your assets when you're acquiring them, it's protecting your contracts. You offer a seller $100,000 for their house, what's to stop the next guy from offering 101 and just taking your deal? And if there's loopholes in your contracts, you're gonna lose. I mean, that's just the bottom line, and you don't wanna lose a contract. I learned that the hard way. I learned a lot of these things the hard way, okay? I put this all into this program so that you don't have to learn the hard way, okay? How to negotiate. It's just like anything. If practice makes perfect, okay? But learning how to properly negotiate is everything. If I walk into a house and you walk into a house, I'm likely gonna walk out with the contract. And why is that? I'm really good at negotiating when it comes to that. I know all of the rebuttals when a seller tells me, oh, I'm not ready, I have to think about it, I have to talk to my wife. Whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that you're ultimately prepared and know how to properly negotiate, know what it takes to walk into a house that's worth $300,000 and offer the seller $150,000 and walk out with that contract. It's not that simple. You know, you don't want to end up getting kicked out of their house. There's a system to all of this, and I promise you it's not that complicated, okay? So let's talk about financing real quick. Hard money, private money, and creative financing, okay? Assuming you're not using your own cash, if you got plenty of money in the bank and you want to use your own money for the renovations, for the purchases, for the acquisitions, more power to you. But for a lot of us starting out, we don't have that money, right? I didn't have the money getting started. I had to get money from private lenders, I had to get money from hard money lenders, and I have done a lot of creative financing deals, okay? So let's talk about these real quick. What is hard money? Hard money is asset-based lenders, lending institution meant for real estate investors for flipping and acquiring rentals. Non-negotiable terms, okay? You cannot negotiate the terms. There's plenty. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a link on this screen right now. There's going to be a name. There's going to be a phone number. You guys can call this dude. He's excellent. I've done a lot of deals with him. Give him a call. His name is Justin. See what he has to say as far as explaining to you guys how that process works and how they can finance your deals. But these are basically lending institutions that are made specially for investors for acquiring these kinds of deals, okay? Whether it's acquiring them for short term for the purpose of flipping them, or whether it's the refinance, right? We talked about having a long-term 30-year fixed loan. It's all going to be done through these hard money lenders, okay? Next, we have private money. What is private money? Any money you obtain from a private individual for the purpose of purchasing or renovating real estate. Negotiable terms, okay? Who is a private lender? Honestly, any one of your friends or family can be a private lender. At the end of the day, a private lender is anybody who has money, and there's no shortage of people out there who have tons of money and don't know what to do with it, and they want to invest it because money is no good sitting in the bank. They want to have their money out there working. You use your real estate deals as collateral. You found a deal. It's worth $300,000. You have it in contract for $150,000. You're asking Joe to loan you $150,000. In return, you're going to give him in a few months $165,000. He made $15,000 profit. His money is safe and secure. It's not like you're going to take it and run because he's holding the mortgage on this property. You cannot sell this property without Joe getting his money back first, okay? So you have that to your advantage, okay? So private money can be, honestly, you know, your local doctor or lawyer or family or friend of family or friend, or anybody who has money and wants to invest with you. For me, private lenders came to me with time. Once I started doing deals, I eventually left hard money and joined private money. I now get 100%, 110%, 130%, 150% financing. Essentially what this means is that I get all of my deals paid for, all of the renovations paid for. This didn't come to me overnight. This came to me with experience. I was doing amazing deals. I was posting them on social media. I was talking about it in networking events. Eventually come to me people who have plenty of money and say, hey, Roy, we see all these amazing deals that you're doing. We want to invest with you. How can we invest with you? This is how it's done. Lastly, let's discuss creative financing. What is creative financing? We have seller financing, which is negotiable terms with a seller holding the mortgage, okay? So for example, again, I'm gonna make numbers up for argument's sake. You come to purchase a property from John. John is agreeing to sell you his house for $100,000, okay? You know you're gonna put $50,000 into renovating this property. It's gonna take you a few months. You know that with your lender, it's gonna cost you, again, I'm making numbers up, $10,000 in interest, okay? Instead, you ask your seller, John over here, would you be comfortable holding the note, okay, while I pay you $1,000 a month in interest only until the property is sold or paid off? So if this project took me 5 months to complete and sell, you're going to be getting your 100 plus 5. So you're going to make $105,000 rather than only $100,000. If you, the seller, Joe, don't need the money today and you don't have a mortgage, why not? He gets more money. It's a win-win for everybody. You get to save money on your holding costs, right? Instead of paying $10,000, $15,000 to your hard money lender, you got away with holding costs at only $5,000. The other thing is a lot of hard money lenders may make you put some money down, 5%, 10%, 20%. With John, the seller, he can finance everything. Essentially, he'll tell you, here's the keys, here's the house, You don't have to put anything down. Again, these are all negotiable terms. He might tell you put $1,000 down. He might tell you put $50,000 down. You can negotiate it. There might be interest. There might be no interest. I've had properties that I have acquired from sellers where I came out of pocket nothing. I had no interest, no nothing, and literally just like that, I told them, look guys, I'll just give you $1,000 a month every single month until it's sold. If it took me 8 months, you just made $8,000 more. They go, okay, why not? You know, and sometimes they'll ask you the question of, well, how do I know you're not going to run away with the house or da-da-da? Guys, they're holding the mortgage on this property. Like, there's no way for scams and things like that here. They're holding the mortgage. So you cannot sell a house without it running through the title company and seeing if there's a recorded mortgage on the house. So you can't just transfer it and take all the profit to yourself. So when the title company or closing attorney runs title search, they're going to see that Joe is still owed $100,000 on this property. So if you're selling this property now for $200,000, Joe has to get his $100,000 first. And how does Joe know that you're going to pay him $1,000 every month? Well, if you don't, he forecloses on you and he takes the house back just like a bank would, which obviously you're not going to do, but that's besides the point. These are some of the assurances that you can give Joe. These are all the things that we discuss in here. We also have subject to. Subject to is purchasing a property subject to the existing mortgage, okay? I'm not going to get into that right now, but there are scenarios where this is excellent and this makes sense. Essentially, you can get a house with no money out of pocket, and all you're doing is transferring the title of the house over to you, while the mortgage, the existing mortgage that the seller has, remains active, and you just keep paying the bank, but you own the house. Look guys, one more thing that I want to point out. If you're able to obtain these houses well below market value, the money is almost always going to come, okay? Whether it means joint venture with another investor, or whether it means having enough experience and going out there and getting this money on your own. I promise you the first deal might be a little tricky, but the second, third, fifth, 100th deal, guys, insurances. Obviously, it goes without saying, insurances on your properties is ultra important. It sucks. Nobody likes paying for insurance. But believe me, when a hurricane comes, when a fire happens, when an earthquake, whatever the case may be, and something happens, you want to make sure that you are insured. And these are the different types of policies that we have. So let me go over them with you guys real quick. We have the vacant policy. This is the policy that you obtain when you're first buying the property. So you have a house in contract, it's below market value, it's in bad condition, you're going to gut it out, you're going to renovate it, and then you're going to rent it out, refinance it, or sell it for a profit, whatever the case may be. You want to make sure that this property is insured, because if it's not insured and it's vacant and somebody breaks into the house and breaks their leg, they can literally sue you and they will win. Or what about the contractor? He goes in there and something happens, whatever the case may be, there's an electrical fire, it burnt down the house. You want to make sure that these properties are always insured, and you want to go with a vacant policy. My experience, the best place to obtain vacant policies, again, I don't care what state you're in, is going to be with NREIG.com. I'm going to repeat that, NREIG.com, National Real Estate Insurance Group, okay? That's what that stands for. I've been working with them for years. I highly recommend you guys check them out if you do happen to have a deal in the pipeline or you're looking to get started. Now, what happens once the house is rented out? It's renovated, the work is complete, it's no longer vacant, I have a tenant in place. Now you want to switch it up to a DP1 or a DP3. That's the type of coverage that you're going to be getting for these properties. Personally, I go with DP1. You can go with DP3. It's a little more coverage, but for the cost, it doesn't cover things that I really need. Whereas DP1 covers all of the essentials. Depending on whatever state you're in, you would just call your local insurance agent or agents and see who can offer you the best DP1 coverage policy for your rental. Okay, that's literally what you're asking for. You have a property, it's rented out, it's renovated. Call up your insurance agent. I need a DP1 policy for a rental. Send me quotes. Obviously, go with the best quote. Next, we have an HO3 policy. HO stands for homeowners. Okay, this is the policy that you're going to be getting when you buy your own house for you to live in, or when you're selling a house. If you're acting as an agent, right, as an actual real estate agent, and you have a buyer and they're buying a house and it's going to be their primary residence, HO3 policy is the policy that you're going to get. You're only going to get this for primary residence, not for investments, okay? Lastly, we have the umbrella policy, okay? The umbrella policy is a single policy for liability only that covers all of your houses. So every time you close on a property, you send an email to your agent, they add it to the list, and it covers all of them for liability. A tenant falls, broke their leg, slip, and whatever the case may be that's liability related, this is one policy covering all of your properties. Highly, highly, highly recommended. And the best part is, it's cheap AF. I'm not kidding, guys. It's super cheap. I mean, I pay a couple $1,000 and it covers everything. I mean, with millions of dollars in liability. Guys, this is a must-have for your properties. Don't be that guy or girl who has their properties without insurances. Believe me, I know plenty of people who have suffered extreme losses because they kept procrastinating and saying, I'll do it tomorrow, and eventually they never get liability coverage until eventually they get sued or something happens. Make sure you have insurance on your properties. All right. Next, we have rental management, okay? Once you start owning rentals and you start growing your portfolio and you start acquiring property after property after property, okay, how do we market these rentals? How do we make sure that they're constantly occupied, okay? My best tip of advice for you guys is going to be Zillow. Zillow is the best place to post your rentals. Personally, what we do is whenever we have a vacancy come up, we post it on Zillow, and then separately, we post it on the MLS. Why do we do this? Zillow is the most looked at place for rentals, okay? So that's going to be your best bet for posting your rental. But there's plenty of people who still look other places. And when you post it on the MLS, it automatically spreads it everywhere. You post it one time on the MLS. The MLS is where you would post your houses for sale or for rent or whatever the case may be once you're a licensed realtor. So only licensed realtors have access to the MLS. Obviously, you're going to work on getting your real estate license because it's only going to take you a week or two and it's only going to cost you $300 or $400 and it's the greatest investment you're ever going to make. But once licensed, you can go ahead and post things onto the MLS. And once anything is posted to the MLS, whether it's a house for sale or for rent, it automatically gets distributed everywhere else. So if it's in a case of a rental, it'll automatically go to apartments.com, realtor.com, hotpads.com, all of those places. The reason that we keep the Zillow one separately, even though it will automatically go to Zillow as well from the MLS, but the reason we do them separately is because Zillow has its own messaging system, and a lot of people use Zillow to find their rentals, and they use that portal. It says contact the listing agent, something of that nature, and they automatically send a message, and that doesn't tend to work too well through their rental management portal in Zillow if you're using the MLS to list your rentals. So keep that in mind, guys, okay? Screening your tenants, knowing how to screen your tenants. This is ultra important, okay? You gotta know how to screen your tenants for credit, for evictions, for background, etc. But unfortunately, you can't screen for stupid, okay? And I have a tenant, this is actually a true story, this happened not that long ago. She had a clog in her shower drain. This is a beautiful, fully renovated bathroom, fully renovated house. And she took the toilet brush and stuck it down the shower drain to try and snake it herself. And she broke off the toilet brush deep inside of the shower drain. We had to bust up the whole floor of that bathroom shower in order to get it out. Obviously, it goes without saying we evicted her. Obviously, it goes without saying we're going to sue her for that. Some things you can't screen for. You do have to expect the unexpected, but these things are rare. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to have rentals, they're going to destroy it. It's really not the case, guys. It really isn't. All of our tenants, not all of them, but for 98% of the time, they're good people. They pay on time. We really don't have any issues other than the one-offs here and there who do dumb shit like this lady did. But at the end of the day, knowing how to screen them and knowing how to collect your deposits the right way, knowing all of these things is going to prevent an immeasurable amount of headache for you guys. And we go over it in a very packed module on how to screen the tenants and how to collect rents and everything else that you can possibly imagine for managing your rentals, okay? Having a good handyman, working exclusively for you is it's a must. It's a must. I'm not going to get into it too much right now, but it is a must, okay? Your leases are ultra important. A lease is a contract, okay? The contract that you have with your tenants, we include our leases in Cashflow Bootcamp. There's a lot of things that work legally in our state that might not work legally in your state, but there are many things that are. So I highly recommend that you contact your local real estate attorney to compare leases, but just know that there's a ton of things that you want to make sure that you put into your leases that I don't see in 99.9999% of leases out there. Most people will have a rental, they'll go on Google, they'll type in rental lease, and they'll come up with the first PDF that comes up, or Word document that's 2 or 3 pages. Guys, our leases are like 68 pages on average, and it covers everything you can possibly think, to make sure that you are protected, to make sure that I am protected, to make sure that my houses are protected. So you want to make sure you have the right lease in place always, no ifs, ands, or buts. Lastly, we talk about evictions, renewals, and your master sheet, which includes, how we collect rents, where all of the data goes, how do we keep knowledge of our current cash flow, the money that came in, who owes rent, things like that. We discuss all of that. All right, and this brings us to, honestly, growth, scale, obsession. I don't know if you guys can hear the passion in my voice when I speak about real estate, because real estate is all I know. I love this business. This is the greatest business in the world. This is the most financially rewarding business in the world. Nothing beats real estate. You have to be obsessed with it. If you want to grow and you want to scale, you have to be obsessed with this business. You cannot treat it as a hobby. Now, how can you not be obsessed with this, right? You guys, either you love your job or you hate your job. Ask yourself, do you love your job or do you hate your job? If you love your job, that's amazing, but is it really paying you? My question is, are you getting paid for life? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 50 years? How do you see your retirement? Are you 70 years old with a cane, and your back is hurting and you're trying to travel the world but you can barely get on an airplane? Are you even going to be alive to see your retirement? I had a scare a couple of years ago. I almost died. I was in the hospital. I had major surgery. Thankfully, I'm still here. But life could have been over just like that. You don't want to wait till the last minute in order to travel the world and do all the things you've always wanted and maximize your quality of life and enjoy the finer things in life. You want to do that at an earlier age. You want to drive a Lamborghini when you're 30. You want to be able to quit working when you want to quit. You want to wake up when you want to wake up. You want to go to work when you want to go to work. Guys, it's like the options are limitless when you're in the world of real estate and when you learn how to build passive income. Passive income is everything. Why work for money when you can make your money work for you? You have to let that sink in, and you have to become obsessed with that, because otherwise you're going to be working till the day you die. You want to learn how to make money in your sleep. I'm going to leave it at that. All right. Lastly, guys, we have the 1% versus the 99%. Okay, we all know about the 1%, and we all know about the 99%. Why is there such a big gap? And I'll tell you guys why there's such a big gap. Because 99% of people out there are not willing to do what the 1% are. And that's the bottom line. If you want to be in the 1%, right, in the 1% income bracket of the world, you have to be willing to do what it takes. You have to be willing to do what it takes. And the reality of it is, there is no get rich quick. There is no get rich. You're not going to get rich quick. It's just not going to happen. Anyways, you don't want to get rich. You want to build wealth, okay? What's the point of having $10 million in the bank? What's the point of that? You're going to eventually spend it, it's going to be gone, and then you're right back to square one. Good luck with that. I'd rather be wealthy. I'd rather have that $10 million sitting in real estate. It's still there. It's safe and secure. It's not going anywhere. But every month, I got buku money coming in my pockets, okay? So I did what it takes. I had no life for the past few years in order to get to this point. I knew where I needed to be. I knew what I had to do, and I executed, okay? So real quick, actually, guys, I couldn't recommend this more, is going to be these 2 audiobooks. They changed my life when I was first getting started, when all of this was just a thought and an idea. The first one is called F.U. Money by Dan Lok. It stands for exactly what you're thinking. It's one of the best books ever made. I checked it out first on Audible, okay? So you can check that out, $15 a month, unlimited audiobooks, and you can check that book out, and it's honestly, it's amazing. It's just amazing. The second best one that I've listened to was the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Okay, so the first book is going to get you motivated and understand how money works and what you need to do in order to become the 1%. The next book, the 10X Rule, is going to show you how to get there and how to scale whatever high income skill you choose to get into in order to become the 1%. Why be average? Why be basic? Why live your life averagely when you can live like a king? You just need to believe that you can and you will. Most people don't believe that they can and they will, and that's why they remain stuck in the 99%. And that's why we talked about mindset in the very beginning. Because it all comes back to mindset. And if you can wrap your mindset around this concept, guys, there is nothing stopping you from going from here to here. You don't need a college degree. I don't have a college degree. College isn't going to get you rich. No. Putting in the work, putting in the effort, hustling and grinding, that's what's going to change your life. Remember, guys, there are no shortcuts to success. In the world of real estate, you can learn through trial and error, just like I have, making a lot of mistakes along the way and learning from them and making sure to never repeat them. Or you can learn from programs like this, or you can learn from mentors, and you can learn from meetups and networking. Guys, at the end of the day, you have to be able to teach yourself the business. And it's honestly, it's not a complicated business to learn and understand, but it will take a lot of hard work and dedication. And if you have what it takes, if you have a little hustler inside of you, and you know you want to become successful, real estate is the way to go. There's no doubt about that. The best thing about real estate, it's not like NFTs and drop shipping and all that other crap. Okay? I don't need to convince you that real estate is the greatest business in the world. You know it's the greatest business in the world. You already know this. You're here watching this video. You know real estate is the greatest business in the world. You just don't know the how. And that's what this program is all about. It's to make sure that when you go about the how, you do it the right way while mitigating your exposure to risk. You have to learn to invest in yourself first, okay? Real estate always starts with investing in yourself first. You have to learn the business. You have to dress properly. You have to speak properly. You have to know how to negotiate properly. You have to know how to analyze the deals properly. If you don't know how to do all of these things and you're not willing to invest in yourself, whether it's the time that it takes to learn, whether it's the money that it takes to learn, whether it's your appearance and your clothes, or like we discussed earlier, your business cards, doesn't matter what it is, you have to invest in yourself first if you want to succeed in the world of real estate, okay? All right, guys, last but not least, okay, part of Cashflow Bootcamp, you're going to be joining our private Facebook group of a growing community of real estate investors and entrepreneurs where we answer questions and guidance and support. I want to see you guys grow. I want to see you guys succeed. You can take all the courses in the world, all the mentorships in the world, honestly, until you get your feet wet. It's going to be scary. And when eventually you do, you're going to have questions, okay? This program isn't about, hey, watch this, do this, and you're on your own. We're going to be holding your hand all along the way. I want to make sure you guys succeed. So when you guys do get started, you're going to have questions, whether it's a renovation question, whether it's a refinance question, whether it's a financing question, whatever the case may be, you're going to have questions, and you're more than welcome to post them in our group, and you'll always get answers. Like I said, we just want to see you guys grow and succeed. All right. And lastly, we have our free deal calculator. Okay. I can't tell you how many millions of dollars that I have made using this exact deal calculator that's included free in Cashflow Bootcamp as a downloadable version for your phone, but it's also free to you right now. And if you want to see it real quick, let me give you guys a quick peek. All right, so over here we have cashflowbootcamp.com. Obviously, you're more than welcome to check it out, and there's no shortage of information regarding the program in here. However, if you click free deal calculator and you go down here and you just enter your name and email and click submit, it's going to take you right over here, okay? I personally created this, okay? I was out there meeting with sellers every single day, doing all of these calculations in my head, doing all of these calculations on a calculator in my phone while I'm sitting there with the seller trying to figure out my acquisition price. It's not very comfortable, it's not very fun, and it's definitely not very professional. So when I was able to utilize the deal calculator to my advantage, which I have on an app in my phone now, Guys, it's priceless, okay? Let me explain to you guys how it works. Step one, determining the ARV. Once you've figured out, okay, the most important step is what is this property going to be worth once it's fully renovated. You do this by taking the bedroom count, the bathroom count, is there a pool, is it fenced in, and most importantly, the location and the heated square footage. At this point, hopefully you've already completed Cashflow Bootcamp. Hopefully at this point you're already a licensed realtor. You know how to determine an ARV. It takes all of 5 minutes, honestly, if you have access to a computer, all of 5 minutes to determine what is this property going to be worth once it's fully renovated without ever having to see the property, okay? So let's assume we just spoke with the seller. She gave us all of this information regarding her home. She gave us the address. We were able to determine that it's going to be worth $300,000 once it's all said and done on the market as the ARV. So we're going to plug in $300,000 under ARV. Next, we have our selling cost. Now, what is the selling cost? Whenever you sell a property, it has a cost associated to it. Whether you're paying the buyer's agent, right? In my case, I'm paying the buyer's agent 2%. I'm not paying myself a commission since I'm already a licensed real estate broker. If you're not a licensed real estate agent or broker, you can add whatever the total commission is that you're going to be paying towards the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. But in our case, since we are licensed real estate agent, we're only paying 2% to the buyer's agent. In addition to that, we're paying a 2% closing cost, right? This is money that goes to the title company, the closing attorney, etc. In your state, it might be a little more, it might be a little less. Here in Florida, it's 2% for the closing cost and approximately 2% to the buyer's agent, bringing me to a total of 4%. So that's what it's going to cost me to sell this property. I'm going to put down 5%. Now, you're going to ask, why 5%? Roy, you just told us it's 4%. So everything that we do and everything that we learn to do here in Cashflow Bootcamp is how to do things the right way and how to do them in the most conservative way possible. So for example, if I put down $300,000 for ARV, it's likely that when I was comping out this property, I came up with $320,000 ARV or somewhere around there. I'd rather be more conservative with my numbers than stretch out the numbers and be like, what's the absolute highest I'm going to get? Because what if I don't get 320? What if I only get 300, right? Or if my absolute max was 300, you'd see me putting down something like 280. You always rather leave yourself a cushion, a room for error. What happens if there's a downtrend in the market, things of that nature. And it's the same thing with the selling costs. You know your selling costs are going to be 4%, but you want to add that 1% for good measure. And it's the same thing with the renovation. If you think your renovations are going to cost you $40,000, put down $50,000. If you think they're going to be $50,000, put down $60,000. I'd rather put down $60,000, and at the end, when it's all said and done, my renovations ended up costing me only $50,000, and I made $10,000 bonus money than the other way around and expect to make this much and only make this much on a property. So at any given point, any property that I flip, I'm almost always making the exact amount that I'm expecting to make, if not more, right? Let's assume the renovations ended up costing me less. Let's assume it took me less time to sell the house. Let's assume I was able to sell it for more than what I had ran my numbers by, right? So that's why we do that. Next, we have profit. What is the profit margin that you're looking to make, right? So let's just say in this case, I want to make 25% profit margin. I'm going to put down 25%. That's going to show me over here, very important, what is my expected profit? In this case, $71,250. And we're going to get back to that in just a moment and why it's so important to have that in eyes view. Okay, let's continue. The next field that we have is the renovations, okay? Now, we haven't been to the property yet. We don't know how much it's going to cost us to renovate this property, so we're going to skip that step for now. We're going to come right back to it in just a little bit. Next, we have the purchase closing cost. So just like we have selling closing cost, what does it cost us to sell a property? It also costs us money to buy a property, right? You still have closing costs when you're a buyer, although it's not as much as when you're the seller. Here in Florida, it can still be approximately 1%. Now, what I like to do is put down under purchase closing cost something like 3%, okay? Why is that? Whenever I make an offer to a seller, I like to offer them a net sum amount to their pocket. It avoids a lot of confusion for the seller having to figure out, oh, he made me an offer for this much, but then I have all of these costs and, what am I going to actually net at closing? I like to let the seller know if I'm offering you $100,000, that's the exact amount that you're going to walk away with. That means that all the other fees, I'm covering all of the fees. I'm covering my buying closing costs, and I'm covering your seller closing costs, okay? So if I know I'm going to be paying approximately 1% for me as a buyer and approximately 2% for them as a seller, that's a total of 3%. So I'm just going to add 3%, which is a very generous amount. In your state, it might be a little more, it might be a little less. So you have to know what that number is. You can easily establish this by giving a quick phone call to your title company or to your closing attorney in your state. So for now, let's just stick, we already have 3%, let's stick to 3%. Next, we have the financed amount. What is the financed amount, right? So right now I have it set to 100%. What does this mean? If I'm buying a house for $100,000 and I'm getting 100% financing, I'm getting $100,000. I'm not coming out of pocket anything, and I'm getting the property. Now, in a lot of cases for me, I'm getting 110, 120, 130 or more percent financing. That means that if I'm buying the house for $100,000 and I'm getting 120% financing, I'm getting the house paid for, and I'm getting an additional $20,000 to my pocket at closing for purchasing this property to help offset the cost of renovations. So when I'm doing 5, 10, 15 houses at a time, it obviously helps a lot being able to get financing amount above 100%, which helps offset all of those renovations and get everything kind of moving along. Now, if you're just starting off, you're likely getting 80% or 90%. Maybe you're getting 100% financing, right? Who knows? Maybe you're getting no financing and you're using your cash, your all cash money. If that's the case, you could just put down, a big fat zero over there. But let's just say, for argument's sake, you're getting 80%, which is kind of standard. If you're getting 80% on $100,000, that means you're getting $80,000 and you have to put $20,000 down. Keep in mind, you still have your renovation cost. But again, for the sake of this example, if you're getting 80%, let's just go ahead and type in 80% over here and see what that looks like, right? So 80% financing. Next, we have the interest rate, right? What is the interest rate that you're paying, right? For me, in my case, a lot of times it's around 10%. For you, it might be a little more, it might be a little less. Let's just say 12% just to kind of see what that's going to look like. So we're going to put down 12% interest. Again, these are interest-only payments that you're making to your lender on a short-term loan until this loan is satisfied, the house is sold or refinanced if you're keeping it using the BRRRR method. Okay, and then last, we have the holding months. How many months do we expect this property, this deal to take from A to Z, right? Let's assume this is going to be a flip, and let's assume you bought the house today and you didn't start renovating it for another whole month because you had to find a contractor, you had to source the material. It took you a month to get started, no problem. After a month, it took you 2 more months for renovations. Now, the average renovation for me is taking 4 weeks, 5 weeks, sometimes 6 weeks. So I think 2 months is very generous. That's 8 weeks, right? Next, we have an additional, let's just say 2 months that you had the house listed on the market, right? 2 months you're trying to sell it, which is a very long time relatively speaking, but let's just say it took you a whole 2 months to find a buyer. Eventually you found a buyer, you got the house in contract. It took them an extra 30 days to close on this house. So 6 months, very fair time frame. You can easily put down 6 months here. If you want to be even more conservative, you can leave it at 8 and put down 8 months more or less. But let's just say for argument's sake 6, which is very generous. Let's just put 6 months. You can always change that, okay? That brings us to a net offer amount of $178,000, but we still have one very, very, very important variable that we have to get back to, and that's the renovation cost. Right now, all of this is assuming my renovation is going to cost me $20,000 because that's what I have plugged in here, okay? So the way that I run my business is I'll have this whole thing on a little app on my phone. I'll pre-fill all of these numbers in exactly 30 seconds because I know what they're going to be. And then I'll get to the house, I'll knock on Marie's door. Hi Marie, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Roy. Thank you for having me here on short notice. I'd be happy if you want to give me the grand tour of your beautiful property. Marie will show me the property. And if it's me, honestly guys, within a few seconds I can take a look at this house and just like that tell you down to the dollar what that renovation cost is going to be because I've been doing this for long enough. Once you get started, if you're not sure, there's many ways to figure this out, and I talk all about that in Cashflow Bootcamp, but if you kind of have an idea, and you're looking at the house, and maybe you're with someone, and they know a little better, and they're like, it's going to cost you about $40,000 to $50,000 to renovate this property. If you've learned anything from today's event, if you're estimating the renovation to be $40,000 to $50,000, you're going to put over here $60,000, right? If you're expecting the renovation to be $60,000, you're going to put down $70,000 or $75,000. I rather put down and give myself a greater budget than do a tight deal and then potentially lose, okay? You'd rather give yourself this much budget and finish the renovations over here and make bonus money at the closing than the other way around. Guys, this is ultra important, okay? So in this case, $60,000, let's just say that's a very generous renovation budget for Marie's home. We're gonna put down $60,000, we're gonna click enter, we're gonna see what this tells me. This tells me that my net offer to Marie needs to be $142,000. Okay, I even have a sneak peek here at my financing amount, so I just got to do 142 minus 113, and I know how much money I got to come out of pocket in addition to my $60,000 renovation. More or less, that's what this is going to cost me out of my pocket, right? But going back to the formula here, if I know my offer to Marie needs to be $142,000, and I'm expecting to make $71,000. The reason this is so important is because when I offer Marie $142,000 and I tell Marie, look, this is the net sum to your pocket. This is the amount that you're going to walk away with. I'm paying all of the fees, the closing costs, the attorney costs, doc stamps, anything and everything that you can imagine. This is the net sum that you're going to walk to your pocket, that you're going to walk away with in your pocket. Marie's going to tell me, Roy, that's very generous of you. I really appreciate it. But unfortunately, I cannot take less than $150,000. So essentially, you need to ask yourself, are you comfortable paying $8,000 more and walking away with $8,000 less profit, right? So what is that? Approximately $63,000. So in order for you to close this deal right now and you offer Marie $8,000 more, you know you're going to walk away with $63,000 profit. Is that good? In my opinion, that's great. It's completely up to you guys, but this is something that you're able to do in an instant when you're standing there in front of Marie rather than having to pull out your calculator and start running all these numbers and formulas and so on. You know that you're not touching your renovation budget, okay? Never, ever, and I repeat, never, ever lower your renovation budget to match Marie's asking price. Don't sit there and say, I have to come up with an extra $8,000, so rather than doing the floors, they're not too bad, I'm going to leave them as they are. Rather than putting granite countertops, I'm going to put Formica countertops and save a few $100 there. Rather than doing the bathroom, I'm just going to leave it the way it is, I'm just going to replace the vanity. Never do any of that. Always give yourself the best opportunity to win in this scenario. So if you're going to reduce any amount here, it's going to be from your profit. If your renovation ended up costing you less at the end, naturally you made bonus money, but you want to know exactly what you're expecting from day one. So I know that I'm expecting, in this case, $63,000 profit if I'm offering Marie $150,000. If I'm okay with it, I'll tell Marie, you know what, you have a deal, sign right here, sign there, and let's make this happen, okay? I have seen countless amounts of other deal calculators from all these other gurus, and all these fancy Excel sheets, and honestly guys, they couldn't be more complicated. There's so many weird formulas and so many weird things that they put in there that I honestly don't even know how the hell to use them, and I wouldn't even need to. They get so confusing for no reason, and I'm not sure why the hell anybody would want to do that, but in this scenario, you can clearly see it doesn't get more simple than this. This formula here has absolutely everything that you need to make an offer. I have used this exact calculator to make millions of dollars and make countless amounts of offers to sellers in seconds, okay? So I'm really hoping you guys can utilize this to your advantage. If you click on the Advanced tab, honestly, it's the same concept more or less. The only difference is you have a few more bold fields that cannot be changed, but it shows you what some of these numbers are that are hidden here in the Simple tab. For all intents and purposes, the simple formula is more than enough to make any and every offer you'd possibly need on the go. All right, guys, and that's it for today's event. I thank you so much for taking the time to join me here today. I hope I was able to give you some good value, and I want you guys to keep one thing in mind, all right? This program right here, Cashflow Bootcamp, is packed with hundreds, not tens, but hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of value, all right? These are the same exact strategies that I have used to build an 8-figure real estate portfolio that pays me for life. All right, guys, if you know you have what it takes, if you're ready to start changing your life for the better, You're ready to stop working for the man and start working for yourself and start building wealth, financial freedom, and passive income for yourself and your family. Guys, this program is packed with strategies, with tips, with knowledge, with lessons learned, with examples. You name it, it's all here, not to mention the private Facebook group to answer any and all of your questions that you may have once you get started with your new real estate journey after you complete the program. Guys, now is the time, not tomorrow and not next week. All right, at some point in your life, you have to put your foot down and you have to get started making the right choices, okay? Real estate is the right choice. You already know this. Real estate is the greatest business in the world. And if you want to learn how you can get started today, doing it the right way, I'll see you in Cashflow Bootcamp, and let's get started.